What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Like and subscribe or you'll get mugged on the street. We never know how we'll actually react to life or death situations, but sometimes people are able to keep their cool even with guns pointed at their face. Check out these awesome people who are able to stay calm during the most intense moments of their lives. Being able to keep your cool during a gunpoint robbery can be the difference between life and death. This Jimmy John's cashier handled the situation perfectly when an armed criminal pulled out a pistol and started threatening him for all the money in the register. You can see the robber's gun get jammed up after he tries to cock it, which means that even if he tried to shoot someone, he probably couldn't have. Maybe the brave cashier realized that, and it gave him a boost of confidence knowing that the gun might not work. Either way, this guy stayed incredibly calm and kept his cool, even when he was face to face with an armed robber. Two gunmen performing an armed robbery isn't enough to scare this cashier. She keeps her cool like she's experienced this situation 100 times before, even though she was probably freaking out inside. One of the criminals is waving his gun in her face very aggressively, and he could have fired it at any moment. Somehow the cashier managed to stay calm and give the robbers what they came for. Thanks to her brave actions, no one was hurt during this super dangerous situation. It's not hard to freak out when you have a gun pointed at your face, but this cashier had no problem staying calm in the face of danger. He makes no sudden movements and is able to keep the situation from getting any worse than it already is. Even though the armed gunman is only a couple steps away from him, the clerk shows no fear at all. Some people are just really good at dealing with stressful situations, and he's obviously one of them. Keeping your cool in a moment like this can be the only thing that saves your life. We have even crazier videos on the way. The cashier in this next clip was ready and prepared for the armed robbery attempt. As the robber approaches the cash register, the clerk instantly realizes what's happening and quickly pulls out his gun. You can tell that the criminal wasn't expecting this at all, because he instantly gives up and lays down on the floor. The quick-thinking clerk then calls the cops while making sure that the armed robber doesn't move a muscle. This is what happens when you're always prepared for something to go wrong. Sometimes you can tell that the person doing the crime isn't an experienced criminal just by how they handle a situation. In this video, the armed robber accidentally throws his gun over the counter when he tries to pull it out. After failing to jump over the counter, he decides to just run away and leave his gun behind. Even though it might seem funny at first, people who aren't used to breaking the law can actually be more dangerous. They're way more likely to pull the trigger on their gun by accident than a more experienced criminal. Luckily for the cashier in this clip, they were able to walk away completely unharmed. But this could have easily been a deadly situation. Just because you're a criminal doesn't mean you're tough. This cashier bravely fought off an armed gunman who tried to rob her point blank with a pistol. She tries to wrestle the gun away from him and then smashes him over the head with the cash register drawer. After that, the criminal runs away and she grabs a hammer to chase him down with. She's incredibly tough for standing up to the crook like she did. It takes a lot of guts to fight someone who has you outgunned. You won't believe what happens in the next videos. This is what happens when normal people work together to stop an armed robbery. This guy has plans to rob a convenience store, but he gets stopped by two brave bystanders who aren't willing to let a crime take place in front of them. The criminal's gun actually even goes off at one point, but that doesn't stop these heroes from beating him up until he runs out of the store. Chances are he'll never try to rob this place again. This is a perfect example of how anyone can become a hero if they're given the opportunity. The situation in this next video is very dangerous and intense. An armed robber is taking a hostage and is threatening them with a gun. Everyone is tensed up about what might happen next. Then, the quick-thinking cashier grabs a bottle of pepper spray and blasts the criminal in the face with it, completely blinding him. After the robber can't see anymore, the cashier is able to chase him out of the shop and away from the innocent bystanders. So many things could have gone wrong here, and it's a miracle that no one was hurt or killed. The cashier was able to save the day by keeping his cool even during a robbery at gunpoint. This robber probably would have been able to get away if the cashier didn't get backup from several bystanders. The thief grabs something inside from a display case and makes a run for the door. The clerk jumps over the counter to stop him, but the criminal is about to get away until another customer jumps in to help the cashier. Even after it becomes 2 against 1, the thief is still getting close to escaping. That is until even more people join in and help restrain him. Eventually, they're able to stop him completely and get back the stolen goods. This just shows that when good people come together, the bad guys can't win. In this next video, the cashier stays so calm that he's somehow able to convince the criminal to just leave without taking anything. The armed robber walks into the shop and tries to rob the clerk at gunpoint, but the cashier keeps his cool and manages to talk the criminal into putting the deadly weapon away and leaving. Staring down the barrel of a loaded gun must be a terrifying experience, but this incredible guy didn't even flinch when he saw the weapon pointed at his face. It takes a special kind of person to be able to handle a life or death situation this calmly. This next robbery is going to blow your mind. Sometimes when you're under attack by an aggressive thief, you have to use whatever you can find to defend yourself. When a man carrying a knife tried to stab this cashier, the cashier quickly grabbed a mop and used it as a spear to get the violent criminal out of their store. Criminals usually expect people to just do whatever they say, but sometimes ordinary people save the day by fighting back. This cashier wasn't going down without a fight, and they made sure that this thief will never mess with them again. Fighting off a violent psychopath who has a giant knife isn't easy, but that's exactly what this heroic guy did to save the 2 women that this deranged criminal was trying to attack. At first, this clip looks like a normal transaction at a gas station, but then out of nowhere, an armed robber burst through the door swinging a huge knife around. He looks like he's going to go after the cash register, but then a guy comes up and starts throwing everything he can at the thief. He just keeps throwing more and more stuff until the criminal is forced to run away and give up on the robbery. If this hero hadn't stepped in, who knows what would have happened. The robber in this clip was wearing a helmet, but that didn't protect him when he got hit on the head with a chair. A brave customer snuck up behind the armed criminal and smashed him with the chair as hard as he could. Then the 2 of them got into a fist fight, and the heroic older man was able to beat up the thief and keep everyone safe. Without his help, the cashier could have been seriously hurt or even killed by the gun the robber was carrying. Even though it would have been easier to just stay out of it, this hero risked his own life to protect a complete stranger. The most insane videos are coming up next. Here we have another armed robber being stopped by a chair, but this time it's the cashier who's defending himself. One hard hit on the head is all that it takes to make this criminal leave the clerk alone. Instead of panicking and swinging wildly, the cashier keeps his cool and aims the perfect shot right to the thief's skull. This is what happens when you stay calm during a robbery and figure out the right way to handle the situation. In a life or death situation, it's easy to freak out, but that could have gotten this cashier killed. When a violent criminal climbed into a drive-thru window to rob this restaurant, the staff didn't hesitate to jump in and stop him. He thought that a fast food restaurant would be an easy place to rob, but that turned out to not be the case at all. Attacking people who are just trying to do their jobs is something only a scumbag would do, so it's nice to see some justice served in a situation like this. Plus, besides the beating he took, now he'll be spending time behind bars as well. The criminal in this video thought that the female clerk working alone would make for an easy target, but this lady put up the fight of her life to protect herself and stop the thief from getting away with any money. These 2 get into a massive fight that ends up completely wrecking the shop. But at the end of the day, the criminal walked away without anything thanks to the bravery of this cashier. An armed robber got to experience what it was like to have a gun pointed at his face when he tried to rob this cashier at gunpoint. The thief walks in and is about to raise his gun up towards the cashier, but this clerk is an ex-soldier and realizes what's about to happen. The cashier grabs the criminal's arm to keep him from raising his gun, and then immediately draws his own pistol and sticks it right in the thief's face. The gunman knows immediately that he made a huge mistake trying to rob this store, and he decides to leave as fast as possible. Thanks to his quick thinking and ability to keep his cool, this cashier managed to save his own life and hopefully discourage the thief from ever trying something like this again.